anyway, now the attendees can join in.
Say when to continue, Donna.
Yeah, so sorry, who moved the agenda?
Jeff did and Bridget.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So first on the, and then to approve the adoption of the minutes from November 19th and 30th, 2020. Jeff? Christian? Very good. And then we're going to go to the communications from the Ministry of the Solicitor General. Let's get that here. The first one is a public safety memorandum regarding the Ontario Police Health and Safety Committee guidance on confined space safety. I imagine that's quite a challenge. Angie, do you have anything to comment on that?
Yes, this is a guidance note that talks about confined spaces and a response to such areas. And so just as a quick update, definition of a confined space is a fully or partially enclosed space that is not designed or constructed to be continuous human occupancy, and in which atmospheric hazards may occur because of its construction, location, or contents, and because of work that's being done in it. So really it's alerting the workers that there are potential confined spaces that you should be aware of, and then how to be able to respond to that. So I can tell you that for the Kingston Police, in terms of confined spaces and this kind of training, it's really Kingston Fire and Rescue. They have a technical rescue team that is dealing specifically with confined spaces, and they're trained for it. So in a non-emergency situations, Kingston Police members would not be entering into a confined space. We'd be calling the Kingston Fire and Rescue. Likewise, in an emergency situation, when we are responding to such a thing, Kingston Fire and Rescue would be our primary responders for that, because they have the expertise and technical aspect of this. And I was talking to Fire Chief Armstrong about this. So we are setting up, as a result of all of this, we're also going to be setting up some educational awareness campaign on this for our own members as well. And this will all go through our Health and Safety Committee.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Angie? No? Okay. Item number 2 is the memorandum regarding the Special Investigations Unit Act and Force date.
Yes. So this new SIU Act has come into force December 1st of 2020. There are many aspects of the new Act that will not change. But some of the highlights quickly are that the SIU jurisdiction now it broadens a bit. It involves sworn officers, but also Niagara Parks Police Special Constables and Legislative Assembly peace officers. And so it also, when we're looking at when to call the SIU, it also now has one additional addition to when to call, and that's when the discharge of a firearm at a person occurs. That even if there's no injury that results, that's automatically a call to the SIU now from the police. It also codifies the definition of serious injury, which remains the same. It's also what was used before, but now it's actually codified. It talks about on-duty and off-duty conduct. And it really gives us a checklist in order to make a determination of whether to notify the SIU about a particular incident. And it also has a duty to comply in this section, and a failure to do so, it has a provincial offense that's tied to it. Really, it requires, again, the SIU to provide the public with updates on every case that it takes longer than 120 days to complete. And yeah, so we're working together on this with, as this all unfolds, and we'll see how that is. It may take some some kinks to work out here and there in terms of the interpretation of things, but we're definitely working together with this, with our association.
Very good. Any questions? Okay, so just because I'm looking at the screen here and there's some new faces, am I able just to, as chair, just welcome to the new board members on the board, Councillor Bridget and Jimmy. Can you say hi and welcome?
Hi, looking forward to working with you.
Very good. Okay, so we're going to move on to number 3 in the communications, which is regarding the virtual case management for courts in Ontario, Court of Justice. Sorry, Jimmy, you have to go unmute yourself.
Anybody can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
That's it?
Yep, just want to make sure that I'm on.
Okay, you're on.
Okay.
There'll be some kinks, I'm sure, as the new chair, and as we have 2 new board members as well. So not to worry. Again, Angie, would you be able to speak to the virtual case management for the Court of Justice?
Yes, and so as a result of the pandemic, so the courts were not allowing in-person appearances for out-of-custody accused for their first appearances or matters to be spoken to or to set a court date. And as a result, the court dates were set to a presumptive court date in advance by issuing what was called a bench warrant in discretion. So basically the court dates were pushed further and further ahead because nobody could actually come into the courts. So as of November to the 27th, this ended. And as of Monday, November 30th, out of custody persons are required now to attend for their scheduled appearances in these matters via audio or video or their counsel appearing on their behalf. And so if the accused person does not attend on November the 30th, a bench summons will be issued to compel their appearance to a specific date. So this is happening all across Ontario now and impacts policing because now it's up to the police to be able to serve those summonses to the persons to get them to their court dates. So in our case, it's the special constables that will be serving these summonses to the accused persons, compelling them to appear in court. And as of this point in time, we have about 60 summonses to be served out in our community. Sometimes they involve the persons living outside of our jurisdiction, and we'll ask that police service to serve the summons on our behalf. And again, MAG is putting in place a preparation plan to facilitate the safe return of in-person court appearances by the end of December of 2020. So pandemic restrictions may not allow or not be able to accommodate in-person case management appearances, even though the trials and prelims are held in person, just because of the number of people that are allowed in the courtroom at a time and so forth. So it's all a work in progress, lots of planning. Our court office has been really pivoting based on all the changes that have been occurring and rather quickly here, but we're able to handle at this point in time the service of the summonses, working collaboratively with the Crown's office.
Bridget?
Thanks, Angie. So are you saying that, I'm just wondering about people who don't have any technology. This is also obviously a phone works, but what's if people don't have phones? So how are those cases handled?
Yes, that can occur too. They're mindful of the fact that not everybody has access to that technology. But that can be through calling the courts. That can be set up, or the person's their lawyer can appear on their behalf, and they will do that. And if they don't have a lawyer that's present that's able to do it, they do have a number to contact the courthouse itself for assistance, and they will help set something up in those cases. So it doesn't eliminate people who don't have the technology. That's a good question.
Okay, so the next would be from the Office of the Solicitor General, dated December 3rd. This is for the proclamation of the Security from Trespass and Protecting Food Safety Act. So I guess
Yeah.
it's going back to when there was blockades and things like that to resolve certain issues of that sort.
Absolutely. So you'll remember that I had previously updated the board that on September the 2nd, certain sections of the act were put in place regarding those demonstrations where they were blocking transport trucks, bringing animals to processing plants. It was basically based on a growing public safety and industry concern. And it made it an offense to stop or obstruct, hinder, or otherwise interfere with motor vehicle transporting animals. Fines of up to 15,000 for first offense and 25,000 for subsequent offenses. But starting December the 5th, regulations have been put into place to operationalize this security from trespass and Protecting Food Safety Act, STPFA, by addressing trespassing onto a farm or into a food processing facility and enhancing protections from obstructions in the transportation of livestock. So it goes beyond the regular Trespass to Property Act legislation, which only has a maximum fine of about $10,000, where this has increased fines. And it allows for the Provincial Offences Act tickets to be issued for these offenses under the new act.
Any questions?
Oh, I should also say that what just came out, I noticed the court office coincidentally had put out a notice to all. So the Ontario Police College has put out an online training program for this new act as well, so that you can go online and view it and understand the offenses and get an online training. So that's all coming out as well.
All right. And we're going to go to the expanding the use of certified evidence in Provincial Offences Act courts.
So in this particular case, certified evidence includes written statements in a document that are certified or sworn to be true by the person signing the document. And as of December the 14th, certified statements will apply to all proceedings under Part 1, Part 2 of the Provincial Offences Act, where there's a set fine that's been specified for the offence, and it will now include speeding and other Highway Traffic Act offences that attract demerit points. And so the idea of this is to be able to reduce the need for enforcement officers to actually appear in court and to give oral testimony. And again, it's up to the prosecutor's decision to rely on certified evidence. So it lies up to the prosecutor's decision. One way of modernizing the process.
Okay. Next is the upcoming changes in to custody and access terminology in the family law.
Yeah, this is again just a notification that this is coming. It's not yet in effect, and it focuses on changes to parenting terminologies in both the Provincial Children's Law Reform Act and the Federal Divorce Act. And under the Divorce Act, divorcing spouses will seek what's called parenting orders, which specify parenting time and parenting responsibilities versus the language that is there now, custody and access. And this, they're hoping to come into force March the 1st of 2021. And then the Children's Law Reform Act will bring the parenting terminology in line with the Divorce Act amendments. And they're working towards the same coming into force date as of March the 1st, 2021. So this is just giving us a heads up, it's coming. They'll have further communications to us on this.
Okay, up and coming. All right, and then a message from the Solicitor General, the compelled fingerprinting during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yes, and because there are fewer offender appearances due to COVID restrictions, it's impacting the ability to obtain fingerprints. And typically on release forms such as appearance notices or undertakings or summons, it compels the accused to attend the police station at a later date for fingerprinting. And again, COVID restrictions have impacted these appearances at the station. So right now, our special constables have been attending Quinte Detention Center to take fingerprints of accused persons who happen to be in custody and have outstanding fingerprint requirements. Our files are also being flagged if there's a fingerprint requirement outstanding so that it can be addressed either in the courts prior to the conclusion of the court case. So in other words, the Crown will know that this person haven't had their fingerprints taken. They'll ask for an adjournment to allow the accused to voluntarily set a time for fingerprinting before concluding the case. So that'll allow us to be able to obtain those fingerprints. It also might apply that they obtain a condition on the probation order, if that's going to work out, to be able to submit to fingerprinting as well. There's other options that can occur where summonses can be issued to an accused solely to appear for fingerprinting. So there's again a number of different options that are available to us. So we are working through this as well.
Very good. Being able to adapt. Then what do we have here?
Mr. Chair, I cannot hear you well, so
No,
can
no,
you-
I'm just, bear with me. I'm just looking on what's next on the docket here.
no, even your volume is too low. I don't know, it's just for me or for everyone.
What about everyone else? Imagine I can turn up the volume somehow. Try that. Okay, so I guess next would be from Diane from Carlton Place, on behalf of Neil Fennell, Chair of the OAPBSB Zone 2, please forward this message below to the members of the Police Services Board. Friends, this is for the fees for a Zone 2 meeting. Is that correct? Given that we're unable to meet in 2020, the zone bank account is sufficient to cover the cost of the meetings. So they're just saying, have a happy holiday season to everyone. And then,
Sorry, Jared, can I just ask, just for the benefit of the two new members, what is a Zone 2 meeting?
okay, so as far as the boards, they're split up across the province in different zones to deal with the issues according to those zones. They'll meet what used to be, I think, quarterly or semi-annually, and because of COVID, everything's kind of been delayed. And they'll also have an annual meeting just to bring to light the challenges that police boards will have, and then go over that and have speakers and just try to educate the boards to work more efficiently. And everything has gone to the wayside of that just because of COVID, and these meetings have been canceled. So, yeah. Okay. The next is from Holly Dottie, and this is for a review of the court security and prisoner transportation transfer payment program, and your input is requested. Please see the attached.
I can update you a bit on that. Is that we've had in terms of the prisoner transportation transfer payment grants, they've hired an external company to do a review on the efficiencies of this, and so they've asked a number of stakeholders to have some input into this, and so they've also asked police services to do so. So we've had our input. The OACP is putting some input in. So I believe John Howes has, on behalf of the board, has completed the survey to assist in terms of the numbers and the costs and how many persons are dedicated to this and so forth. And in terms of the Kingston Police, we've asked our court office to also respond to the survey as well.
Very good. Next is the Kingston City Council appointments. Very good. Jeff?
Thank you. I'd like to point out that there's a mistake. It was written for 1 year, but it's actually for 2. I've checked with the clerk and they said they were going to update that.
Okay. Okay. And then Kingston, sorry, it's very small print in my, yeah. Kingston City Council meeting, December 1st, new motion, number 3, Kingston Police Services Board. So this is ensuring membership of the Police Service Board is okay. So this is for the 2 new appointments. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes. So this is basically on behalf of the city of Kingston, informing us that the appointments for the 2-year term, if that's the correction there, was for Mayor Patterson and for Councillor McLaren as the appointments. But there's 2 more amendments that are coming because there was a change.
Yeah, very much so. Okay. That's for Jimmy Hassan. Okay. So when those come, I'll put them in the next, I guess.
And then, yeah, so the next appointment then would highlight here that the appointment that it be that Councillor Doherty would be appointed to the Kingston Police Services Board in place of the head of the Municipal Council for a term ending November 14th, 2022.
Okay. Well, that'll just be added into the next meeting, and then you get to be recognized twice, Councillor Doherty. Okay, so then I think that's it for that. So there's a motion.
And then there's also appointing Jimmy Hassan as well. Sorry, that was part of the
Okay,
motion.
well, Jimmy, again, welcome, very much so.
Thank
And,
you.
Bridget, welcome again. And
Thank you. Nice to be there.
pardon?
That's it. I'm glad that I'm joining the board.
Well, we're happy to have you.
Thank you.
All right. So there's no delegations. There's no reports. There's a motion. So I guess there's like some new hires.
Yes, I can.
Creating a temporary overage in the sworn complement.
Yes, I'll give the chief a break. She's been doing a lot of talking. I'll cover these ones off.
Sure.
To welcome 4 new members to the Kingston Police, and like to give the board a bit of an overview of what they're bringing. Alex Bondon. Alex was born and raised in Montreal and graduated from Cégep John Abbott College in 2017, completing the police technology program. From there, he attended Concordia University in Montreal and received a Bachelor of Arts degree with distinction in human relations. Alex also has attended Universidad de la America Pueblo in Pueblo, Mexico. I apologize for that. That's the best I could do. For a 5-month student exchange in 2019. He speaks English, French, and Spanish. Since August 2015, Alex has worked as a security officer for McGill University and was promoted to sergeant in June of 2018. He's also worked for the town of Mont Royal Public Security and Le Hotel de Montreal Security. Alex enjoys giving back to the community. While in Mexico, he volunteered for the Origin NACU, a group that works with Indigenous children and communities in Mexico. Alex also has been a big brother until recently when he was matched, graduated from a program upon turning 18. In his spare time, Alex enjoys kickboxing, snowboarding, as well as attending the gym and running. We welcome Alex to the Kingston Police. Our next member, Kelsey Collins. Kelsey was born and raised in Kingston and graduated from Frontenac High School. From there, she received a diploma from St. Lawrence College in Community and Justice Services, and additionally received a certificate of completion for requirements of a correctional officer training and assessment for the Ontario Correctional Services College in Lindsay. She has since worked as a correctional officer at Quinte Detention Center in Napanee. Kelsey has continued her learning by taking many courses over the last several years, including subject matters in mental health and suicide prevention, culture and diversity, human trafficking, child exploitation, the autism spectrum disorder, and fraud prevention awareness. Policing has been a career choice of hers for quite some time, and she's obtained valuable insight and skills from her employment as a correctional officer. Kelsey volunteers with Victim Services and also has with No Limits Youth Organization as a dance instructor. In her spare time, she enjoys the gym, running, soccer, and snowboarding. She is also involved in theater, where she has been acting at the Belleville Theater since 2018. Welcome, Kelsey. Our third new member is James Hollingsworth. Although he's new to the sworn, but he has been a civilian member of the Kingston Police. James was born and raised in Brampton area and moved to Kingston in 2006. He graduated from Holy Cross Secondary School in 2013 and obtained a Bachelor of Science honors degree in Physical Health and Education from Queen's University in 2017, maintaining his status on the Dean's Honors List for the academic year 2015-16 and 2016-17. James has been actively involved in volunteering since 2008, including volunteering for Queen's Camp Explorer, teaching swimming at W.J. Henderson Pool, volunteer leader of daily physical activity programs with Frontenac Public School, as a Kingston goalball coach at Holy Family, where he supported legally and partially blind athletes between the ages of 18 and 25, volunteering at Aguanada Resource Center as a volunteer strength coach, and with the Queen's University wrestling team since 2019. And finally, he has been a member of the Kingston Police Community Volunteers since 2018. James has been employed with the Kingston Police as a vehicle equipment detailer and fleet assistant since 2018. And prior to that, he worked at Eastside Mario's. We welcome James in his new role with the Kingston Police. And our final new member is Philip Mahaffey. Philip was born and raised in Pembroke area and graduated from Mackenzie Community Secondary School, where he was a recipient of the Morris Wasenko Award for Worldly Knowledge, Cultural Awareness, and Global Curiosity. It was during this time that he completed an exchange to Taipei, Taiwan, and learned Mandarin Chinese, in which he was intermediate in fluency. He then attended the University of Ottawa and obtained his honors Bachelor of Commerce degree and as a second language certificate in French. Philip is active in the Rotary Club of Ottawa and has successfully completed a 3-year international youth exchange program in 2014. He's also been an international exchange student during his time at U of O and attended the Aarhus Business School in Denmark for 4 months in 2016, and then at the Vienna University of Economics and Business for 4 months in 2017. He volunteers his time as the president of the Rotary Club of Ottawa Metro and is a Rotary District 7040 Youth Exchange Program student coordinator. He is also an on-ice official for the Eastern Ontario Hockey Association and has worked at the elite level up to including AAA midget hockey. Philippe has been employed with Immigration, Refugee and Citizenship Canada as a policy analyst prior to being hired by the Kingston Police. We welcome him and all the new officers.
Thank you, Chris. And welcome those people to the team. Very good. So next would be unfinished business.
Oh, sorry, Chair, we need a motion to
Oh, pardon me.
appoint them.
Right. Okay. So may I have a motion? Right. So that's
Sorry.
good. All in favor? Pretty much everyone. Okay. Motion goes through. Next unfinished business would be the 2020 annual report and 2021 budget for follow-up. So, is there any questions for the budget? Since it was kind of Jeff.
Thank you. This is just a heads up that last night we passed a motion that council is requesting the chief to appear at the budget hearing and give us a little extra information on what the police are doing with regards to inclusion, diversity, and dealing with issues of Black Lives Matter and the defund the police. You should be getting that soon, but just a heads up.
Sorry, Jeff, I didn't hear the last part there. Can you just repeat the last?
sorry. It was just a heads up that it's coming. We just passed it last night.
Okay, thank you. Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, and new business. There's a staffing update. The resignation for
Jared,
So-
I just want to see, I had submitted some questions to the staff, but I'm assuming like eventually like there'll be a response from the staff on those questions, or do you want me to raise, did the chief want me to raise those questions now? I'm happy to be patient in response to those questions.
Chief, would you like to answer that?
Sure. I actually was waiting for you to ask the question, so I wasn't sure how. So
I just want to make sure like it's that I'm happy to receive written respondents, or I'm happy for me to pose the questions now. I just wanted to make sure you felt at ease with the questions that I'd raised. I'm happy to raise them, or I'm happy for you just kind of, you've seen the questions, for you just to respond however you feel is appropriate.
okay, so you had you were asking for some clarification with respect to the Zoom communications and the $120,000 with respect to that, and what did that entail? Wanting some further clarification. That's how I understand your question to be. Okay, so the $120,000 was on the capital budget. And what that was for preparing 3 rooms within our organization to be Zoom compatible. So we would have Zoom rooms there. So it's really the infrastructure to get the audio, the visual, the infrared, all the costs that would go allow us to have the full capacity for Zoom to prepare them. So that would be for our community room, that's for the police services boardroom, and that's for our training classroom. So as we're moving forward, we realize that a lot of our training is now done by Zoom. It's that much more, has much more capacity for us. And I also note that the board had also passed a motion in August of 2020, really wanting to ensure the enhancement, availability of live streaming and video recording of meetings and those kinds of things. So that 120,000 is on the capital side of the budget, and it's really to prepare those rooms for the ability to have to be Zoom compatible. We do have a Zoom room in our executive boardroom, and we have one in room 118. It's a smaller little boardroom, but it's just not enough for to serve all that we're going to be doing with respect to as we're moving forward. And so, as I said, it's not anything to do with operational side. It's about the infrastructure side of the house.
And that cost is $1,000 then per
120,000. Yeah. So it's so much per room, and so that's all that is. It's not about the licensing fees or anything like that. It's strictly the infrastructure so that we have the capacity for the Zoom to be working in those rooms.
So that would be an overhead projector and desktop or to run things and
absolutely to have the infrared to be able to work, so that I think the quote, when I look at it, it has hold on a second here. We've got diagrams of the different rooms, and it has sort of where all the Wi-Fi is going to be located and how you get there. So it's all about the infrastructure of the rooms, on how to prepare it to be ready for Zoom.
That would coincide with wiring and things of that sort.
Yes.
You're talking
Yes.
about that there's
Yes.
screens. Yeah. Okay.
And that's being done under a standing offer, or that's being done under a tender, or?
We will have to do that. What we did is we kind of researched it, not we, our director of IT, so Scott Joffrey, would have done the research to kind of find out how much that would cost. But before we go out and actually go to a certain, we would have to put it to tender before we would actually do it. But we had to know a ballpark figure of what this is going to look like. So that's where that estimate comes into play. But we'd have to do an RFP for sure, and put it out there.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you.
And then in terms of you were asking about the board's budget. And so the board's budget would be under the purview of the chair to have met and to have discussed what that financial allocations are. There hasn't been any adjustments made, but it really entails some of the working group committees that are going to be happening for next year. You know, the new board committee that's going to be doing a lot of public engagement and working with a consultant. It takes into account some traveling expenses if that occurs, membership fees, those kinds of things. So that's what the board budget is entails.
I just hadn't seen that in the breakdown. So I guess there's a there's a breakdown in the allocation for the governance budget for the
absolutely.
Thank you, Chief.
Absolutely. And then you were asking about the promotions and the fact that it has budgetary impact or implications. And so your point on this is the hoping about the chief's commitment to have a university degree as a minimum qualification for promotions to senior command. And then you also talked about wanting that to see that also in the at the lower ranks of promotions, not just at the inspector ranks.
If I can clarify that I wanted to see that, I was simply trying to gauge your views on that.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, that's the whole point of why we're having this new promotional process. The new promotional process would incorporate points for education, whether it's university education, post-secondary education, certificates, all those kinds of things will take part in it. And that is part of the moving ahead and why we're doing that. So I agree with you. Thank you.
All right.
And the promotional framework, you were looking at wanting to understand the delays in this and what, since we last met in August, you were talking about when we did talk, we had hoped that we would have the promotional framework finished by 2019 or by the end of 2020. But I can tell you that we have worked diligently. But I could let Sonia, if Donna, you could invite her. Sorry, I was getting the words in there. If you could invite her, because they've just finished up another meeting today, and she can update you on sort of the things that need to be done. That's taken a little bit of time to get there. Sometimes it's well, I'll let her explain to you what the next steps are so that you understand that.
Hello, it's Sonia. So this morning we met. We had someone from York Regional Police speak to the competency portion of the promotional assessment. He's an expert in competencies, and I thought it would be helpful for the committee to hear the types of examples that would be used in competency stories. Those were some of the questions the committee had. We've come a very long way. We're very close to finishing. So what our discussion was about this morning was identifying our finalized timelines and discussion around how we're gonna roll the training out to the assessors and those who are participating in the promotions process. So the committee had decided some months ago that they felt that it was too soon to finalize in order for the current people that are in the promotional pool to go through the new process. They felt that we would be better served to wait for the next process. So the delays were really more about the committee wanting to make sure as best as possible that this is going to be the best product possible and that it was in all senses ready, and that they felt that it would be pushing it just a bit much to have the current group in the promotional pool be put through that process. But we are well underway for having completion of the process.
Thanks, Sonia.
Welcome.
Well, it seems a long haul since we've been at this, I think, for almost 2 years. So, but I look forward to seeing the final results being brought to the board.
Sonia,
and a pandemic.
right. Sonia, can you give us a bit of a timeline as to how this is going to unfold?
Yes. So what we're looking at, what our goal is, end of January to have the process completed and recommendations to the chief, and then February and March we are looking at rolling out the training. So in the competency portion of the promotional process, For people who've never been exposed to the competencies and to how competencies are best assessed, that does take some training. You can't just read the documents and be trained. And one of the key things about this process is that we want to make it fair and transparent. And, we want people to feel confident that the assessments that are being done on the competencies are being done properly and that people have the proper training for that. So those are the timelines that we've set out, there should be, they should be doable. Those timelines should be doable. We're very close, but because it's such a new process, I mean, it's been completely overhauled. And the process hasn't really been underway for 2 years because that memo may have came out in January, but the committee didn't meet for till late in the spring. So, and then when you threw in COVID and the reserve deployment and the fact that we were not being encouraged to meet because of COVID and our Zoom capabilities weren't as extensive as they are now, that was a several month delay with COVID. But I think that the process is a very good one. It's a very much more complex than the current process, but it should provide an excellent assessment of candidates who are in the promotional pool because there are multi stages to it. So it's competency assessments, 360s, and oral board interviews. Those are the three main components of the process.
If I could just add the other thing, just for the board members, the provincial promotional exams normally take place in March. We haven't got the exact dates, but that kind of factors into the timelines for the process as well through 2021. But historically, the promotional exams are late March.
Thank you, Chris. Okay. Then is there any questions? Any other questions? Christian, thank you for your questions. Anyone? Then I would ask, and thanks Sonia for sharing that with us. I'd like to move to go in camera.
Oh, there's still there's still one more item.
Okay.
New business.
Then that's not what we're doing. Welcome the newbie.
We're gonna have to get you an expanded window.
Oh, we have an appointment to the Kingston Police Services Board.
That's why paper is always better, a paper product. It's easier to read all this in paper.
I have to admit, I like it when Donna has it all presented for us on paper.
Yeah. No, there's just new business for a staffing update.
It's a staffing update. Okay, please do.
Yeah. So we have Constable Jeff Smith. His years of service, July 14th to 1997 to December 31st of 2020 for his retirement. And he was hired by the Kingston Police in July of 1997, having already gained much policing experience since March 1990 with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and the Ontario Provincial Police. He also possessed valuable training and expertise from his time as a member of the Canadian Forces from 1982 to 1989, including qualifications as a paratrooper. Jeff was assigned to the patrol division in his initial years on the force until his assignment in January of 2002 to the criminal investigations, where he was primarily tasked with fraud investigations. His investigative skills were further honed with a 2-year assignment as a forensic officer in the Forensic Identification Unit in 2010 and 2011. In January of 2012, Jeff returned to uniform patrol, where his broad base of knowledge and experience was of great benefit to frontline operations. In particular, his expertise as a scenes of crimes officer was frequently in demand. Jeff has been an active supporter of community events involving the Kingston Police over the years, from indoor soccer tournaments with local schools to the Police Equestrian Championship. Jeff is a recipient of the Police Exemplary Service Medal, and with his years of service upon retirement, he'll be receiving his first bar to the medal in recognition of 30 years of loyal and exemplary service to public safety in Canada. We thank Jeff for his loyalty and dedication to our community and to the Kingston Police and wish him all the best in the years ahead. And Pat Benoit. Pat was hired by the Kingston Police in January of 1998 as a 2-year experienced officer from Peel Regional Police. While in patrol, he became a coach officer for his aptitude in teaching and was also a member of the emergency response unit. He has received a number of letters of appreciation from the public for making differences in their lives. In 2003, Pat was transferred to the crime prevention unit as a street crimes officer, and in 2005, he was transferred to the drug unit and then the biker enforcement unit. He was involved in a number of successful investigations targeting high-end drug dealers. He was awarded the Ontario Medal for Police Bravery for saving a truck driver who teetered near the edge of a cliff after his rig slammed into a rock facing along the Highway 401 in March of 2008, as well as a Commendation of Valor from the Recognition and Awards Program Selection Committee here in the Kingston Police. In 2010, Pat returned to the patrol division where he performed duties as an acting sergeant on occasion. And in 2013, he was transferred to the criminal investigation division where he's promoted to sergeant in 2014 in charge of the sexual assault unit. He had another stint in the drug unit in 2015 as a sergeant in charge there, where he was the co-lead for Project Yuma, which was a joint forces investigation with the Durham Regional Police that targeted a number of drug trafficking cells. This resulted in 23 suspects being charged, including 6 from the Kingston area, 112 drug charges and firearms related charges being laid, and a drug seizure with the estimated value of $1.4 million. He received a Kingston Police Commendation of Merit for his work done on this job. In February of 2016, he was awarded the Police Exemplary Service in recognition of 20 years of loyal and exemplary service to law enforcement in Canada. In his final year with us, Pat was transferred to the Emergency Response Unit, where he was in charge of the team. During his career, he has volunteered for a number of charity events, including the Sky is the Limit, the Law Enforcement Torch Run, and the Ontario Special Olympics 2012 Provincial Spring Games. I know that Pat leaves our organization in good stead. He spoke about having had a wonderful career in law enforcement from Correction Services of Canada, Peel Regional Police, and the Kingston Police, which he has called home for the past 23 years. He is very proud of his accomplishments to know that this decision is the best for him and his family moving forward. We wish Pat all the best in this new chapter of life. Thank you.
Quite the career. Very good. Okay. Now I will suggest we move in camera. Anyone? We're good?
Got a mover and seconder?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
And we'll see you on the other side.